Yes, this is CI 2017. Here we are. We have 3 teams left. We have Kettle Moraine, we have FBCLB, that's First Baptist Church of Long Beach, and we have Athens from Georgia, Wisconsin, and California. From every corner of the United States, we are very excited to have this quiz. And again, let's go through all 3 teams real quick. Athens, in my opinion, smartest quizzing team in the country. They don't have the firepower they did last year, not even close. Last year they were an all-time team. This year they're still very good, but they're smart. They have Calvin, and he's very good, and they quiz smart. A smart quizzing team with a very good quizzer can go far. How far? Well, apparently you can get second at New Year's Classic, and you can get to the top 3 at CI. We'll see if it'll go farther. FBCLB, this is a program that's been on the rise for several years, and they have... And while they've been on the rise for several years, this year they finally seem to put it together. They have 4 quizzers who participate in answering every quiz. Nicole, who likes to be middle named sometime, Elwin, Anthony, and did I say Elwin? If I did, I missed somebody else. But they have 4 quizzers, and they have Brianna, too, who also participates in getting questions, but not to the level of those other 4. You got Kettle Moraine, who's got possibly the best foursome of quizzers I have ever seen. They're very good. Can they put it together? Can they win championships? Can that be done? They got Boogie Fuller, Hannah Fuller, Olivia Vanderplume, and Jonathan Swaffer. A foursome, very, very good. And then you've got, so those are the 3 teams. And First Baptist FBCLB, they have Anthony, Nicole, who sometimes likes to be middle named, Elwin, and Stephen Wheeler. Those 4, very good. Brianna, Anthony, little sister, she's pretty good also, but those other 4 are all heavy contributors. On Athens, you've got Calvin, who is great, and they quiz smart. Look for them to give toss-up questions to Nick. Nick is one of the faster toss-up jumpers. And then you have Andrew, Adriana, and True, all capable of getting questions, but at this level, I don't think you're going to see a lot of it. So those are your 3 teams. I've given a real brief rundown of all 3. What do I expect to see? I expect to see Kettle, after some time off, some reflection, to return to the form they had earlier and get out to an early lead. If it's close down the wire, I expect Athens to beat FBCLB. The question is will FBCLB get out to a big enough early lead that Athens can't catch up? And to me, that's really the thing we're going to be looking for, because Athens is a second half of the quiz team, FBCLB is a first half of the quiz team. And if FBCLB gets a big enough edge, Athens will struggle to come back. But if it's close, look for Athens to steamroll back. The question is will Kettle get enough points early to keep them in the top spot? These are all things we're looking forward to seeing. Enjoy. We're going to turn it over to the Doug. Okay, it sounds like the microphone cut out. There it is. Okay, the Doug will take over from here.
All right, so we will have 2 quizzes. The first one, we will determine our 3rd place finisher, and then we'll have 1-2 team quiz. Since we took a bit of a break there outside of just an absolute emergency type break, I'd like to turn the quiz around in about 2 minutes, and I believe that we will just have you sit, one on the left and one on the right, leave the middle empty. Okay?
Let's do it, guys. What do you got?
All right, here we go. We should probably turn on Now, you know Long Beach is getting tired when they hadn't even mentioned that their lights weren't on. So. Y'all are just nice. I mean, she should give y'all some bonus, like the opposite of a foul. But you have to get 3 of them to get 10 points. So. Okay. Here we go.
Focus, guys, focus.
Question number 1. You know what? Let me see all 14. I just hate to find out later one of them didn't work anymore. All right, that's good. Okay. Question number 1. Question. To whom was Paul, number 3, at the Ninus?
According to Romans. To the Greeks, barbarians, wise and unwise.
That is correct.
Focus and reflex.
Question number 2. Question. How were they to number 3?
According to Romans. One another with unholy kiss. Salute one another with unholy kiss.
No, I'm sorry. Toss up question, remaining teams. Question. How were they to live? Number 3, Olivia.
How are they to live in Romans? Peaceably with all men.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The question was, how were they to live peaceably with all men, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, is the answer. Okay. 3 questions. According to James 5:7, what will the husbandman receive? True?
The early and latter rain.
That's correct. Question number 2. Question. Who shall be blessed? Number 3, Calvin.
The man. This man, he will be blessed in his deeds.
No. Sorry. Toss up question remaining. Number 3.
Whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein. Being a doer of the work. This man.
That is correct.
Mr. Quizmaster,
Yeah.
may I make an appeal?
Sure.
That verse says, "But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed." He said, "Whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed." He said all of the phrases except the phrase being not a forgetful hearer. And if he's going to describe how he is a doer of the work, the man who is specifically doing the work, he also needs to describe that that man is also not a forgetful hearer, because it is specifically that man, not any man who just is a doer of the work, but a man who is also a forgetful hearer. So I believe his answer should be kind of incorrect.
Okay. Do you want to add anything before we make our decision? maybe want Olivia to
Can I make another appeal after you've decided?
I will not accept his challenge.
Okay, I believe that since in verse 22 he said, "But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only," and then in verse 23 he says, "For if any man be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in the glass." And I believe that not hearing, not being a forgetful hearer, is also very pertinent to being a doer of the work. He's not only not forgetting what he heard, but he is doing it. I believe that should be included in order to be correct, especially since he said the one half of it.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to accept the second challenge, and I am going to award you an error, unfortunately. I don't guess that's an award, but anyway. And we'll have a free question here.
Okay, refocus your guys. Free, listen, free. Here we go. Work it out together, team.
Okay, free question. For cattle, and what does another law in my members in Romans 7 bring me?
Into the law of, into captivity, yeah, bringing me into captivity.
Number 3.
Into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members.
10.
Good, let's go.
Here we go, guys. Come on, focus.
Just a reminder, not that I want you to take me up on this, but we no longer have a cap on our quiz, okay? Question number 2. So quote this verse question. Question, quote this verse, Romans 15, number 2.
And again, praise the Lord, all you Gentiles, and not of my people.
No, I'm sorry. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question, quote this verse, Romans 15, number 3, Calvin.
13. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace.
Sorry, it's an error. It's verse 30. Free question. When ye kill, what can you not do in James 4?
Can obtain.
Number 2, Ellen.
You cannot obtain.
That's correct.
Let's go, team. Focus.
Question 2 repeated. Question. It's a reference question. What will the Lord do according, number 2, Elman?
According to Romans,
Sorry? Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question. It's a reference question. What will the Lord do according to James 4, number 3, Olivia?
She'll lift you up.
I'm sorry, that's an error. Yes.
Maybe Bill. I believe that you're coming from James 4:10, and the verse says, "Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He shall lift you up." And that's what I said. He shall lift you up. And so, according to your question, you asked, "What will the Lord do?" And He's going to lift you up. So I believe my answer should be correct.
Well, I think specifically He lifts up the person who humbles themselves. And so that's what the Lord does. He doesn't just lift up anyone. He lifts up the one who humbled himself. Now, I could have asked the question, what does the Lord do for the one who humbles himself? But that wasn't what I asked. I asked, what would the Lord do? And so I think you needed the whole thing. So I'm not going to accept your
Can I
challenge.
still make an appeal now that you said that? Or
Sure, you can.
that's a specific reference. And so I believe that since all that's in the verse, and it doesn't say that there's a humble man and a man that's not humble, all it says in the verse is humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He shall lift you up. And I especially since it's in the same verse, I mean, if it was a chapter, I could see how you would have to refer it, but
Well, I hear you. I remember specifically when I wrote this question, thinking about it quite a bit, and I believe that you needed the whole thing.
All right, here we go. Good job. Here we go. Good work. Good work. Nothing wrong there. Let's go.
Free question for Athens, correct? According to Romans 6:21, what is the end of those things?
Death.
Number 2.
Death.
That is correct.
Fine.
Question number 3. 2 repeated. Question 2 repeated. Question. What 7 things is it asked? Number 4. Stephen.
Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword?
That's correct. Question number 3.
Focus. Here we go.
Question. According to Romans 16:1. Number 4.
Phoebe, our sister.
I'm sorry, that's an error. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Number 4. Stephen.
Phoebe, our sister, which is a servant of the church, was a century.
That is correct.
Good job.
Question number, yes.
May I make an appeal? I believe in that verse it says, "I commend unto you Phoebe, our sister, which is a servant of the church, which is at Centuria." And I believe that you could add, "which is a servant of the church, which is at Centuria," but it's not really necessary because it's kind of more like describing what she does, because it's saying she's a servant of the church, which is at Centuria. So I believe that his answer should have been correct, and the rest could have been just...
Again, it's kind of back to the last question as well. When we have full reference questions, we expect the full answer. We don't expect you to pick, when it's a partial reference, there may be 5 or 6 things that might be descriptive, and usually that's sufficient enough. But it's a full reference, and you'd have never gotten it wrong to say all that. And I'm not saying some other quizmaster might not have given it to you, but I believe a full reference, you need to give the full answer. All right, timeout.
All right. We have a quiz where Mr. Douglas is clearly being very picky and wanting a lot of information. And it's sometimes tough to read that quizmaster, whether he wants a lot of information or if he wants a little. And clearly this quiz, he's wanting everything that could possibly be related. So what you need to do as a quizzer is adapt. And FBCLB has adapted the best. Even though we would say they have the least amount of experience in this quiz of these teams, they've clearly adapted the best, the quickest, and that's why they're ahead. So, I don't think Athens is in that bad of a spot because they are a second half of the quiz team. They commonly do better in questions 11 through 20 than 1 to 10. but they're 50 points down. I don't think that's too big of a deficit. But if that deficit gets a little bigger, that's when you need to worry. So we are here. We're going to turn it back over to the Doug. Take it away, the Doug. All right, looks like they're still talking, perhaps some discussion going on. Clearly, in this quiz, Mr. Douglas is wanting more information. So when the Doug wants more, I'd give him more. FBCLB has adapted. The other two teams haven't. That's why they're ahead.
All right, time in. Are we trying three? No, we got three. Okay, number 4. Question number 4, question. It's a finish this verse question. Finish this verse. Pure, number 4, Stephen.
Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world.
That is correct.
Good job. Good.
Question number 5. Question. According to Romans 10:4, 2. Number 3,
2.
Calvin.
To everyone. To everyone that believeth, Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth.
That's correct.
Focus.
Question number 6. Question. According to Romans 11:33. What? Number 3.
What? Ways past finding out.
I'm sorry. Toss-up question remain number 2.
Judgments. His judgments.
That's correct. Good job. If you left that his out, we were going to have issues. So. Okay. Question number 7.
Focus.
Question. When in Romans 6, number 3.
When in Romans 6, when you have assurance of sin?
No, I'm sorry. Toss-up question remaining teams. Question. When in Romans 6 shall we...
When in Romans 6 shall we be when we were dead?
No, I'm sorry. All right, so we have a free question. The answer was, when shall we be also in the likeness of resurrection if we've been planted together in the likeness of his death? Free question for Kettle. Why did Christ in Romans 14 both die, rise, and revive? Number 3?
That he might be Lord both of the dead and living.
That's correct. Good job.
Here we go. Focus, Lee. Here we go. Forward.
7 repeated.
Forward. Here we go.
Question. According to Romans 5:17, number 1.
They which receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one Jesus Christ.
That is correct.
Good job.
Focus. Here we go.
Question number 8.
You're good. Focus.
Question. According to Romans 7:6, number 3, Calvin.
We. We are delivered from the law, more specifically, the law that being dead wherein we were held.
No, I'm sorry. Toss-up question remaining teams. Question. According to Romans 7:6, in what? Number 4, Jonathan.
In the oldness of the letter.
That is correct. Question number 9. Question. Where had Paul in number 3?
In Romans, am I flush?
I'm sorry. Toss-up question remaining teams. Question. Where had Paul in Romans 15 fully, number 3, Calvin?
Fully. Preach.
I'm sorry, I have to call time.
Wow, that's big. That's second. If he would have answered second earlier,
You were
puts him in
definitely the
a
right place.
way better position.
Second place.
I'll touch your hand.
No, I'll touch my
We'll touch my hand.
Quiet.
Okay, number 3, your light is on, please, sir. Okay? Free question. According to James 2:6, who oppressed you?
Richmond.
Number 3?
Richmond.
That's correct. Yes, timeout. Timeout for Athens.
Oh. Athens and Kettle have both gotten off to a very slow start. We know that FPCLB is a very good first half of the quiz team. Will they be able to translate that into second half success? With a lead like they have, they actually look to be in a pretty good position. But both Kettle and Athens are capable of turning around. If you want an exciting quiz, this is actually the way to have it, because you have two teams who you know are capable of coming back. Athens, notorious for their slow starts and great finishes, and Kettle, just a dynamic team with a lot of strength. So to me, this is still entertaining, even though FBCLB has the big lead. You do need to see that was a 40-point swing, the -10, the +20 that they would have had, and not the 10 points for FBCLB on that half-second late answer by Calvin. That's tough when it's a half-second late and it makes that big of a difference. But this is why we play the games. We're going to turn over to the Doug. Go the Doug.
All right. It's not again. Okay. Question number 9 repeated. Question. What are the Mary, number 3, Calvin?
In James, they are to sing psalms.
That's correct.
Good job, Cal. Way to go, brother. Way to go.
Your job.
Just a reminder that we are not under the 25 question cap anymore, which is, we wouldn't make it if we were. So the good news is we're not. Okay. Question number 10. Question. At what did Abraham, number 3, Antonius?
According to Romans. At the promise of God.
That is correct.
Good call. Good call. Good job.
Focus.
Good job, Anthony.
All right.
Smart.
After 10, 130, 10, 60, this is question number 11. Question, according to Romans 3:9, number 3, Olivia.
Before prove both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin. We have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin.
Yes.
Good job. We're good.
Question number 12.
Focus.
Question, According to James 2:5, number 3, Anthonius.
God hath chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith.
No, I'm sorry. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question, according to James 2:5, what are, number 4, Adrian?
They are heirs of the kingdom which he has promised to them that love him.
I'm sorry. Rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom.
There we go.
All right, free question for Kettle.
Focus, agree.
Nick, okay, there you go. According to Romans 16:27, to whom was glory through Jesus Christ forever?
God only wise. Only wise. Yeah.
Number 3,
God only wise.
that's correct.
Good.
10.
That's the way it works. Here we go.
That's great, that's great.
Good, here we go.
Stay in, stay in.
Question number 13 is a reference question. Question, what shall God judge according, number 1, Hannah?
The secrets of men.
That is correct.
All right, here we go. Fine. Focus, focus. Steady.
Question number 14.
Steady, steady.
13,
Guys,
okay.
watch out, guys, watch out.
Do not.
Let's do 13 again. How about, or 13 for the first time. Question 13 is a finish this verse question. Question, finish this verse, making, Calvin?
Making request. Making request, if by any means now at length I might have a prosperous journey by the will of God to come unto you.
That's correct.
Great job.
Good, here we go. Good.
Question 14. Question, to what in Romans 9 hath, number 3, Calvin?
Hath God. Hath God.
Sorry, it's called an error.
Sorry. Focus, focus.
Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question, to what in Romans 9 hath is, number 4, Stephen?
To the law of righteousness.
That is correct.
Good job, guys, good job.
Fine, here we go.
Is there any timeout?
Yes, timeout.
Hey, you're good.
All right, FPCLB should have a spot in the final 2 if they do not do something foolish. They're up 80 on both teams. There's 6 questions left. That's 60 for each team. They're both down 20. So FPCLB should be okay, provided they don't make errors. Athens, Kettle Moraine, the top 2 teams in New Year's Classic, going head-to-head. Let's see how they can do. This is CI-TV. Okay, looks like they're talking a little longer in this timeout. Calvin has 5 errors. One more error and he's out. You got to figure if he's out, Kettle Moraine has a huge edge. Huge edge. So, all right, let's see.
Okay, we're going to take just a little bit moment longer for an official timeout.
All right, we're going to take a little bit longer for official timeout. So let's go ahead and look at this. Obviously, if you're FPCLB, you're good position. You should have advanced to the final 2. You shouldn't. At this point, there's nothing more you should do. In fact, standing up can only be harmful. I don't encourage it. You have both Kettle and Athens tied. Now, one of the things to look at, Calvin, who is the heart and soul of the Athens team, has 3 correct and 5 errors. So he can get 3 of these 6. They're going to need to get 1 more. Kettle Moraine, if you're going to say Olivia is their best quizzer, she has 4 errors and 1 correct. But you got to figure that Kettle Moraine much, much deeper. If I'm the coach of Kettle Moraine, I tell them to make sure to not make errors because Calvin can only get 3 more, and they need 4 to win.
Question number 15. Question. What is tamed? Number 3, Olivia.
Every kind of beast and of birds and of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed.
That's correct. Question number 16. Question. It's a reference question. Who is he according to Romans 13:4? Number 3, Olivia.
The minister of God to thee for good. And more specifically, he is a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil.
Nicely done.
Good job.
Question number 17.
Focus.
Question. For what in Romans 14 are we? Number 3.
Romans 13, are we to?
I have to call time.
Careful.
All right. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question. For what in Romans 14 are we not? Number 1, Nicole.
Not judge one another anymore.
I don't know if this was planned, but FBCLB is helping Kettle Moraine.
Are we not to destroy the work of God? Okay. Pre-question. For Athens, what worketh hope in Romans 15, or excuse me, in Romans 5?
Experience.
Adrian?
Experience.
That's correct. Second timeout, yes?
He said that.
Who said that? Yes. Yeah, timeout.
Okay, we have a timeout. Here we go. That error allows Calvin by himself, without help from anyone else, to win this quiz. If Calvin can get 3 more, of course, he's got 5 errors, so he's going to have to be careful. But if Calvin can get 3 of these final 4, he can win the quiz for Athens by himself. To me, that's a big error, big difference. The puzzling part to me, though, wasn't so much that Kettle Moraine made an error. They've done that the whole tournament. The puzzling thing is that FBCLB attempted to help Kettle. I would think if they're going to help anyone, it would be Athens. You got to figure they have a better chance of beating Athens in a 2-team quiz. Now, that may or may not be the case, and they may end up losing to Athens in a 2-team quiz. And it ended up not helping Kettle because they missed the question. But they attempted to do something that was going to help Kettle. Seems like a strange decision to me. But we're back. We're going to turn it back over to the Doug.
I'm done with life.
17 repeated. Question number 17 repeated. It's a quote these verses question. There are 3 of them. Question. Quote James 5:1.
1, 2, and 3. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh, as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days.
That is correct.
Right here. Let's do it.
Question number 18. In Romans 3, Paul asks, number 3, Calvin.
Is Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he the God of the Jews only?
No, I'm sorry. And unfortunately, that's a quiz out. All right. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question. In Romans 3, Paul asks, why yet is he, number 3?
Is he judged as a sinner?
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. You gave the question. The answer is... What's that?
All right, that time FBCLB was trying to, I guess, help Athens. It keeps Athens potentially in the quiz. If Kettle gets this
All
free
right,
question,
free question.
we could have a three-way tie.
Agreed.
According to James 3:15, what is this wisdom?
Earthly, sensual, devilish.
Number 3, Olivia?
Earthly, sensual, devilish.
That's correct. Timeout for Athens.
Okay, that move assisted Athens in that it kept them in the quiz. Of course, Calvin being out is huge because Nick can get some questions. He only has like 7 chapters. True might get a question. The question is, are FBCLB and Kettle Moraine going to hold back? If I'm coaching either of those teams, I tell them if the other one of them makes an error, if an error is made by another team, you make sure you don't get an error. Let the other teams get it. High win, middle win, doesn't make a difference. But you are one error by another team away from clinching it. So you got to be, got to be aware of that. But Kettle Moraine has put themselves in a great position. FBCLB had a great position, and they have now put it back in jeopardy. Not the best decision in quizzing, but that's why we play the games. We'll see how it turns out. Let's turn it back over to the Doug.
Timeout left, is that correct? Okay.
Believe me.
All right.
Focus right here.
We are going to try 18 again. Question 18 repeated. Question. Where were they to humble, number 4, Stephen?
On the side of the Lord.
That is correct.
So, Doug.
Question number 19. Question number 19, question. Who were pleased, number 4, Stephen?
Them in Macedonia and Achaia.
That's correct.
So, Doug.
Now, question number 20. Question. How are you convinced? Number 5.
That neither life nor death, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, shall be able to separate us from the gospel. Yeah.
That's a good try, I'm sorry. Toss-up question, remaining teams. Question. How are you convinced of the law? Number 3, Olivia.
As transgressors.
That is correct. All right, that was a very, I guess we'll call it stressful quiz. Let's give Athens a hand. Strong third place finish.
Okay.
Cattle and first
We're
half
going
to
to pause
survive.
10 seconds for station identification. Come right back.